The Efx Sports Show is on your radio right now. Here's your authorities in sports nutrition, Dr. Jeff Golini and Brian Andrews.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Efx Sports Show live on ESPN 910 Radio. My name is Dr. Jeff Golini, here with my co-host, Mr. Brian Andrews. Brian, how are we doing today?
We are doing awesome, and I always like to start out by saying hello to everyone listening today on ESPN 910 Radio. This is the show of athletes, by athletes, and for athletes in every sport and walk of life. Listen up, people, because we have got a great Efx Sports Show lined up for you today. As usual, we're going to be teeing off the show with Dr. Jeff's Tip of the Week. Now, his subject today is all about NSAIDs. Now, you say, what is an NSAID? Well, dear listeners, that stands for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, or what's more commonly known as aspirin and ibuprofen, things like that. Now, the good doctor is going to talk about the pros and cons of using them, plus a few facts you may not know about these compounds. And we have some really unique topics to cover in today's Q&A segment. And by unique, I mean things like occlusion training and protein protein. So what are those? Well, you just have to stay tuned to find out. And in our Spotlight segment today, we have the honor and privilege of speaking with Mr. Ron Heller. He's an accomplished businessman and CEO of Peritus Asset Management. And, of course, we'd all like to know how to hit it big on Wall Street, but this is a sports show. So we're going to talk to Ron about his sports past, and in particular, his 7-year career in professional football with the San Francisco 49ers, winning Super Bowl 23, and then later with the Atlanta Falcons and Seattle Seahawks before he retired in 1993. So that's quite the show, huh?
That is, man. I'm excited. Let's get it started.
All right, let's get it on.
Well, Dr. Jeff's Tip of the Week. I don't know if this is really a tip or if it's more of a warning of the week, but, you know, NSAIDs, as you said, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, are becoming more and more and more popular. Just the over-the-counter version, which is ibuprofen and aspirin, over 80 billion bottles will be sold. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
That doesn't include prescriptions and everything else. But the problem is, these are the things that we don't hear about because no one wants to talk about it. These are conservative calculations because nobody actually gives us the total amount. They try to keep this hush-hush because, remember, these NSAIDs, aspirin and ibuprofen, are supposed to be completely safe. That's why they're over the counter. But over 107,000 people a year in the United States are hospitalized for NSAID-related GI complications, and at least 16,500 related deaths occur just with arthritic patients alone. I was looking at some stats where they were comparing the deaths of NSAID compared to war and compared to murders, and I believe this has now taken the lead. That's crazy. So really what I wanted to talk about is we got to be careful. Even though it's considered an over-the-counter drug and anybody can go buy it, it's not regulated, they are dangerous. In short, small amounts, they're telling us they're relatively harmless, but we know that prolonged use, and when somebody takes a little bit more than what's recommended, and a lot of times our doctors will tell us to take 4 or 5 when you've got some severe pain, you're going to have some complications. And, you know, some of the quick side effects are usually like dizziness or vomiting. But unfortunately, when damage occurs, there is no warning. You don't know about it. And long-term use has shown that it's very toxic on the kidneys, and it destroys the lining of the stomach, causing ulcers. So again, if you are out there using, aspirin and ibuprofen on a regular basis for some pain management, I'm going to recommend that you look for some alternative suggestions. Now, if you're on prescription drugs, don't just stop using what you're doing and say, Dr. Jeff told me. This is just my recommendation because they're dangerous. This show is about looking out for you, and part of the tip of the week is giving you things to think about, giving you alternatives. So, of course, what are some alternatives that are safer? Well, several years ago, I developed something called creselazine. And in our clinical trials, we went up against NSAIDs, and we outperformed them. Believe that or not, But we did. We outperformed them, and it actually worked better with zero side effects. As a matter of fact, creselazine is currently been given an orphan drug number application, which means it is now at FDA, and when the final approval comes through, this will be prescribed by doctors as an alternative to prescription medications for pain relief, inflammation. It actually does work. So pretty cool compound. But there are other things that are out there that also work. Another one is called Boswellia, which is an herb. It has boswellic acids, and this improves the blood flow to the joint. Having trouble speaking today. And it prevents inflammatory white cells from entering damaged tissue. Things like devil's claw, capsicum, cat's claw, curcumin, all popular herbs out there that are all great anti-inflammatories. Because remember, most of the pain and the reason why you take these NSAIDs is because you have a buildup of inflammation. Go back to the source. Try to work on getting rid of that inflammation instead of just band-aiding it with an NSAID. A little bit of DMSO is also helpful. And then there's something called white willow bark. White willow bark contains salicylic acid, which is aspirin. Now, the difference between the two is the salicylic acid that you buy in the store, the aspirin, that's synthetically made. That's where the problems occur, is when you try to synthesize something that's from nature into something synthetic, you got all these different types of issues. But from willow bark, white willow bark, it's actually very easy on the stomach and you don't have all the bad side effects. So if you're an aspirin person, you might want to just try a nice white willow bark extract. Go check your local health food stores, because you never want to buy these things from mass market stores or dollar stores. You always want to go to reputable places. But anyhow, that's kind of my take, Brian, on NSAIDs. Stay away from them if you can. If you have to, be very careful, but look for alternatives.
Wow, that's outstanding. I'll tell you, the thing that probably pops out at me is those numbers you started out with. That's astounding.
Isn't that crazy?
It's absolutely off the charts. There's always gun controversies and all these crazy things that people want to argue about, and then you show a number like that dwarfs anything else.
Yeah.
You kind of have to scratch your head and just go, I don't get it. Why isn't that all over the media?
Because again, it has to do with big pharma, and we don't hear about things from pharmaceutical. We don't hear about all the deaths from all the drugs. We don't see the studies where people die in those studies, but they expect people to die. And if you listen to the commercials for these drugs, don't they always end with, and could cause death? It's like, say what? What do you mean could cause death?
Outweigh almost or worse than the condition itself. I think I'd rather have the condition.
Well, yeah, it takes care of one thing, and then there's 50 to 100 things that are worse off. So you got to be careful with all of this stuff,
Yeah, well, hey, that's a great tip of the week. Much appreciated, good info, and I can vouch for like white willow bark and also creselazine. Those really do work, and boy, I sure do feel better using those than those other things.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, good stuff, man. Thanks.
Yep. So you got the mailbag open?
There it is. Just pulled it open, pulling out these awesome questions. And actually, this first one, I'm going to say, this is to you.
Oh, all right.
Ready?
What you got? Yeah.
All right. Here you go. Dr. Jeff, I saw on the EFX website you have a protein called Protein. What is that all about? Please tell me it is not whey protein, because I tend to have issues with milk-based products. Chad D. from Fresno, California.
What's up, Chad D. in Fresno? Well, thanks for the question. First of all, Protein is more of a process than an actual product itself. I received earlier this year patents on the processing of Protein. So anytime you get a patent, obviously you've developed something brand new. It has to do something. It has to be backed by research. So my Protein, I can essentially run any type of protein through the process. So the new Training Ground series that I'm coming out with has three different protein products, all containing Produlin. Again, the process. The first one is a WPC, whey protein concentrate. So if you have trouble with the lactose from whey, then that probably wouldn't be a good one, because whey protein concentrates do contain about 4 or 5% lactose. What you want to look at is the whey protein isolate. Now again, it's going to say protein, whey protein isolate, because the whey protein isolate is processed through the Produlin processing. Whey protein isolate are usually almost lactose-free, fat-free. Everything has been filtered out of the whey concentrate. They are a little bit more expensive, but again, for people that want the WPI, there you go. Now, the third one, I'm just calling Stack 6, because there are 6 different proteins in this third protein. And the reason why isn't just because it looks good on the label, but different proteins are absorbed at different rates. So this, if you want to call it, is kind of a time-release protein, where any of your whey proteins, whether it's whey protein concentrate or isolate, are very quickly absorbing. So those are great to use, right after a workout, to get aminos back into the system, where, at night, where you want a little bit more of a slower releasing, that's what the Stack 6. Now, it does contain Montana peas. The first time that a domestic pea has been processed, and I'm doing it here at All American Pharmaceutical, and it will be introduced in the training ground, Stack 6 protein. So there you go. That's kind of what Produlin is about. It's all about absorption and quality, and you'll just have to choose which one works best for you depending on what you're trying to do with it.
Okay, so just to be very clear, you're saying Produlin is more of the process that produces the finished product, but not the actual finished product.
Correct. It can be made from several different protein sources. So Produlin, yes, is the product, but it's more the process than the actual ingredient.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're very clear on that. So this big Chad here isn't scared away because he sees that it is some form of whey. So cool, man. That's a great answer. Hopefully that helped you out there, Chad. Keep you growing, getting better, getting bigger. And actually, let's move on to question number 2.
Oh.
This is actually a very interesting one that's popped up a few places on the internet, things like that. This is Carlos from Facebook, and he writes, have either of you ever heard of or tried occlusion training? If so, what do you think about it? Have you heard of that one?
Boy, I have not. That seems like a long question, man. Long answer.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to see if I can compress this down a little bit. Well, for people who have not heard of occlusion training, it's also known as blood flow restriction training, or BFR. If you look up under those words, you're going to find various articles. Now, just as the name is implying, basically what you're doing is you're wrapping like what they call a pressure cuff, or even people use like the powerlifting knee wraps, and you wrap it around the top portion of the limb you're going to train. So, for example, if you're going to do arms, you'd put it just above the biceps, right under your shoulder and your armpit. And basically what you're going to do is tie it off not so tight that your arm turns blue like a tourniquet, but what you're doing in a nutshell is this. You're going to put just enough pressure there to restrict the blood flow to the veins, but definitely not your arteries. That's very dangerous. So what this means is your arteries still pump blood into the limb, but the veins can't really take it out. They're occluded or obstructed. Now, I've personally not tried this myself, but I do know people who have done it, and they say the pumps you get are just like nothing you can even imagine. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. Now, the other thing, too, is when you do this, you don't go as heavy with the weight you're going to use. You use much higher reps, like 15 to 30, so you really focus on getting a major, major pump. And the theory behind occlusion training is really based around 3 ideas. Number one, if you're causing more of an oxygen deprivation in the muscle, what you're doing is it's going to force that muscle to recruit the bigger, larger fibers to handle the load. So now you're hitting those even more. And then the next thing is you're lowering oxygen, which increases lactic acid buildup in the muscle, and that's been shown to increase protein synthesis. It's also believed that by filling a muscle cells with maximum blood and fluid, you are stretching those cells to absolute capacity and forcing them to grow. So really the main thing, if you do even want to attempt this, is to keep in mind how tightly you apply that wrap. And from what I understand, it takes a little practice because you just don't want to end up making it literally like a tourniquet, but just enough to restrict the blood flow. So if anyone tries it again, be cautious, try to do it with safety in mind, but all the study and research that I've seen about something like this shows that it actually is effective.
I'm seeing producers saying, you guys better go to commercial break.
Yeah, it is actually time to go to commercial break. So when we get back, let's pick up with some more great questions, man. This mailbag is stuffed to the gills, almost like it's been occluded.
Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout?
Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs.
Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why Efx Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every Efx Sports Supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Cre-Alkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. Efx Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. Efx Sports, formulated to win.
Efx Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. Efx Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Cre-Alkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of Efx Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the Efx Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. Efx Sports.
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose Efx Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, Efx Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Cre-Alkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it.
Well, welcome back to the Efx Sports Show on ESPN 910 Radio. Dr. Jeff Golini with Brian Andrews. We're in the middle of our grab bag Q&A section. And I had a comment on that occlusion training. I think it's whack, man. I mean, anytime somebody's going to tell you to do something stupid like restrict blood flow and put a tourniquet on, I'm sorry. My opinion is stay away from it. Weight training works by itself. If you need to do something stupid like that, you don't know how to train or eat. But that's just my own opinion. Since this is a family-oriented show,
feel about it?
I don't want no kid going out there and grabbing a knee wrap and cutting off his blood flow,
Yeah, well, hey, they asked the question, we get the answer.
I hear you, man. But you know what? We're about giving our opinions, too. So.
What's that?
I said I might as well give my opinion on it.
Hey, man, that's what we're here for, right?
That's it. So look here, man. This one says, I don't even know who this is from. Oh, out of Seattle. What is that name? Peckless. That's why I had to look twice. Peckless in Seattle says, hey, guys, I have been trying to blow up my chest. I really love to bench press, but I don't feel like they are working for me, even though I'm getting stronger. Any ideas or exercises I should try instead? Please help a brother, B-R-O-T-H-A, out. Peckless. Well, Peckless, if you are doing bench presses and you ain't got no pecs, it's time to redesign your pectoral exercise program. Wouldn't you say, Brian?
Oh, yeah. And you know what's funny? It's one thing when people say, I bench press, but there's the bench press, and then there's the bench press.
Yeah.
I've seen these guys, we call them towel benchers.
No.
The thing where the guy who's a spotter is doing more of the work, pulling it up and down than the guy benching. So we just don't know what the technique this guy's using.
If you're a bodybuilder or, somewhere you're trying to develop your chest muscle, quit bench pressing. When I got into the sport of bodybuilding and went from football, that was the first thing that all of the mentors and professionals said is, don't bench. Why you bench? Bench press is about ego. That's the problem, is people are doing singles, Saw a guy the other night. Every time he comes and benches, he's doing singles. And he can handle a lot of weight. I don't know what he's doing. If he's a power lifter, that's great. But it looks like he's trying to be a physique person. And I'm like, that don't do anything. It impresses the people in the gym, but that's about it. So you got to look at, there's different parts to that chest. So to get a better looking chest, and I'm just going to assume you just want a nicer looking full chest, you've got to hit the upper chest. The best way to hit the upper chest are incline dumbbell presses. And I say dumbbell so that each side has to work independently, so your strong side, normally you have a strong side, isn't going to take over and you end up with a lopsided chest. That's number one. Number two, you want to get that nice cup underneath. You got to do decline. Now this I don't mind if you do with a barbell, a regular bar, because again, decline, you're kind of pushing up and out, so you don't have a tendency as you do on an incline to concentrate on one side or the other. And then to smooth out the sides, I like to do seated flat bench dumbbell flies, butterflies, where you're laying on, you're bending your arms. Now there are pec decks also, but you don't get a really good full range of motion with those pec decks. So again, I would just say go back to the basics. If you do those 3 exercises, 5 sets times 10 to 15 reps, squeeze and handle as much weight as you can, controlled, guarantee you will have some Arnold Schwarzenegger pectorals.
And he had some big pecs back in the day.
Oh, he did, man.
I think I saw a picture of him one time doing a side pec shot with a glass sitting on top.
Oh, yeah. But, that's what it's all about. A lot of times, like you said, guys get into bench pressing. And if bench pressing done correctly, you can work the chest muscle. You do work the chest muscle, but you got to also have these other exercises because it only works one part. But if done incorrectly, you're using more shoulders and arms and triceps and back and calves than anything else. You get an overall body workout.
And let me throw another variation out that I actually learned from Chad Shaw, who's the expert that writes our Ask the Trainer section on our EFX Sports website and the blog. And this particular exercise is called a neck press. And let me just start out by saying, you talked about ego. This one is going to absolutely crush, fillet, stomp out any ego you have, because here's why. Really, in fact, Chad's even told me one time this is his all-time favorite exercise, and he used to be able to bench crazy amounts of weight, and then he switched to this, and he said his chest grew like it had never grown before, even when he could bench 200 pounds above where he was using this. And essentially what you do is you want to do it on a Smith machine, typically, unless you have a training partner, but this just gives you a little more safety factor. And what you're going to do is you're going to get on the bench, lay down, and take a much wider than shoulder grip width. I mean, your arms are way out. And now instead of you having that bar come down right across mid-pec or even below, you're actually going to do it to where it comes down right at your clavicles. So it's very, very high up on the chest. And what's happening is that puts an extreme stress on the pec, especially because your hands are so wide, it really disengages your shoulder and your triceps when you're doing that push. And I'm telling you, you're going to get such a crazy amount of stretch out of it. But obviously, because your hands are so wide and you're pulling it up so much higher towards the neck area, it takes a lot of the leverage out of it, meaning whatever weight this guy is using, he's going to be, you won't even come close to it. And if he ever did build back up to where he was doing a standard bench press, I'm telling you, that guy's going to have big hunks of meat hanging off his chest, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you could
You're
also
going to want to use higher reps too, like 8 to 12. So you really pump a lot of blood in there and work that muscle thoroughly, and go to failure, man. I mean, just go for it. That's what you want to do.
And that's about what I'm talking about, getting a full range of motion. You can also take that and put it on an incline press with a bar, and again, bring it to the neck. What's that doing is allowing you to bring that bar down deeper, and again, it makes you control it. Boy, this next question, I got a quick smart aleck answer, so when you read the question, I'm going to give you my smart aleck answer.
Well, we did an entire show about this a few months ago.
I know.
But here, let me throw this one out here. This is Randy Landers from Facebook. What do you guys think are the biggest mistakes people make at the gym? Wow,
showing up, walking in the front door. That's the biggest mistake most people make. If you are coming to the gym to rap to the guys or rap to the ladies or to strut around or to talk on your cell phone, don't come. I'm sorry, you get in my way. I'm all glad that you're there, but if you aren't really coming there to train, most people who come into the gym are looking to exercise. So again, if you're one of them people that aren't there for that, go find someplace else to go because you disrupt people. So that's my first answer, but I know there's better answers because he's probably talking about people who actually want to make improvements and what are some mistakes they make.
Well, I would say first off, so we don't know what this guy's level of experience is. We've been doing this for 30-some years now each plus, so again, we're going by what we've experienced and seen over many years, literally training in gyms around the world.
Yeah.
And I'll say one of them you see right off is people that just don't even understand what the equipment is for and how it works, and people are using something thinking it's doing one thing and it's actually doing another. Their form is just crazy, sloppy, and it's like, look, ask an expert. Ask somebody who's nearby that looks like they know what they're doing, and go find one of the trainers and managers. That is what they are there for. Let them help you and point you in the right direction. It's all about maximizing the time.
And
don't let your ego get in the way.
And most gyms, they offer you a trainer for your first couple times. So if you've never been to the gym, even if it's not free, I would recommend that you get a trainer so that they can kind of show you around how to use the equipment and get you started on a good program. Don't believe everything you read on the internet because, again, you could be looking at something Arnold Schwarzenegger did, but you're not at that level, so you could end up getting hurt. The other thing I see is, we were talking about this, people just use way too much weight. It isn't about how much weight you use. It's about doing the exercise correctly and not getting hurt. You should enjoy exercising, so don't have weight be your factor. What else you got, Bri?
Well, I guess hand in hand with that is sloppy form.
Oh, my goodness.
In a way, by default, when you have that crazy heavy weight, you're going to end up being sloppy because you're trying to leverage that weight up rather than actually working the muscle that you're trying to work. I mean, literally, you could take a 30-pound dumbbell and curl it and make it feel like it weighs 80 pounds if you do it right.
Yep.
So it's all about the form and function, and you might look at a power lifter and look at the enormous amount of weight they use, but what you don't realize is that is a skill that they have practiced for so many years to get good at that squat, that bench, that dead, and that's why they can use those heavy weights at that weight. You, on the other hand, just try to get under there and squat some stupid amount of weight that you're going to do or shouldn't do is asking for something that could literally damage you for the rest of your life.
Too many young people are having back surgery from training, because, again, they don't do anything preventive. They don't wear weightlifting belts. They don't use proper form. Like Brian said, we've been doing this for a long time, and the reason why we can continue to enjoy weight training is because we do the exercises properly, and we wear preventive gear like, knee wraps, weightlifting belts. The other thing I see is people go too much. You don't go to the gym 7 days a week. You got to rest. So get on a program where you're giving enough time in between body part. If you're a serious athlete, you can train one part twice a week. But don't be in there bench pressing 4 times a week doing chest. You can't recover. The same thing with cardio. You can't do 7 days of cardio a week. You got to give yourself a break. You're going to burn out and you're going to quit. The other thing is remember, you're not going to hit your goals in 1 or 2 days. If you're out of shape, how long did it take you to get out of shape? That's how long it's going to take you to get in shape. So be patient and learn to enjoy it. Don't make it, something that you don't enjoy doing.
Well, and again, that's a voice of experience. And I think we, at the risk of sounding like hypocrites, honestly learn some of these lessons we're trying to teach you the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just trying to tell you, I'm further down the road than maybe the guys that are half my age who come into the gym and just say, guys, I'm telling you, listen to me. Don't you want to get there faster? Okay, more is not the answer. Sloppy form is not the answer. Just piling on pounds and pounds and pounds, thinking you're impressing everybody around that might be looking at you. Honestly, who cares? I've always said I want to look like I can bench press 500 pounds more than I could do it.
There you go.
And on the beach, it don't matter.
Nope.
Nobody cares. Well, it is time to close up the mailbag for this edition, and we are going to get ready to gear up to talk to Big Ron getting on the phone with us, and he is going to be talking about his football career. I mean, going to the Super Bowl, guys.
You got to stay tuned.
Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout?
Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs.
Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why EFX Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every EFX Sports supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Alkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. EFX Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. EFX Sports, formulated to win.
EFX Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. EFX Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Alkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of EFX Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the EFX Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. EFX Sports.
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Alkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show here on ESPN 910 Radio. Dr. Jeff Golini with Brian Andrews, and as promised, very, very exciting guest, Mr. Ron Heller, we've got here. And we kind of told you a little bit about him, and we're just going to kind of open up and start talking. And Ron, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Yeah, so we told our listeners just kind of your story, and I just thought we'd kind of go back to the beginning. Where did you go to high school? What sports? What got you into sports? How did it all get started?
Well, I grew up in a large metropolitan town in northern Idaho, population 400, Clark Fork, Idaho. So you either played sports, hunted, fished, or did all the above. So I did all the above.
Wow.
And you learned real quick coming from a community that's had a lot of success in sports, even though it's a small school and very successful throughout the state, that you got to be tough right away. And believe it or not, my freshman year, my brother's in town in Santa Barbara this week, and we were just talking. And he says, "Yeah, you're the biggest sissy as a freshman I ever knew." I said, "Well, all you guys want to do is tie me up to the goalpost and punish me and put me against the big guys and work on double teams all day." I said, "That wasn't fun in football." But my parents said, "You can't quit. You got to finish the season." So I did, and I ended up liking it after I learned, to get pounded every day. So, it was fun after that, and playing 11-man football with 15 guys on your team, you got to play every day and every down, and you never left the field. So you had to be in great condition. You had to lift weights, and so it was a steep learning curve as a freshman, never playing football before, even though you're at a small school, because you're going against seniors every day, and just learning the tricks of survival, which I really think helped me later in my career.
You said something which was interesting, because I think this is lost today with young athletes. My dad said the same thing to me. He said, you don't have to go out for a sport, but if you go out, you are not going to quit. You're going to finish the season. And that was the only requirement he had, where I think this day and age, it's too easy for people to quit when it gets tough, Oh,
it's so true. I mean, and whether it's quitting a workout or quitting early on a sprint or quitting, whatever you're going to do, it's easy for people to do that now, and people protect their kids so much. And I've coached my kids all the way through school, and my youngest is now a junior in high school. The kids quit all the time in all kinds of different fashions.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing what the parents let the kids get away with, because they want them to be their friend, not grow up to be a responsible, respectful young adult. They want them to be like them, so they're easier to babysit, I guess.
And
it's just doing society wrong.
And you see it. You're in business. I'm in business. I see it now in young adults and older adults that I would say we're allowed to quit. As soon as something happens, they break up with their girlfriend, they have a fight with their wife or husband, they quit their job. I mean, everything is a quit. It's not going my way. Work is too hard. I'm just going to quit. So, I think what we're saying is, for you parents out there, make your kids stick through. Don't let them quit, because, again, what you learn as an athlete, your career, as we're going to hear from Ron, you don't do it forever. I mean, you got to move on and make a living. A lot of us, we're able to make at least somewhat of a living, playing some professional sport, but very few go on to professional sports. Wouldn't you say that, Ron?
Yeah, you know what? It's very good at what you just said. You don't learn to enjoy success, and you can't find success until you've failed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, Joe Montana threw interceptions. Joe Montana fumbled the ball. Joe Montana made mistakes, but he was 4-time Super Bowl champion and 3-time MVP. I mean, he didn't do that by being successful right away. I mean, he almost didn't make it at Notre Dame in the NFL.
Right.
But I mean, he made mistakes and he learned. He kept grinding, and if you grind through those tough times, you're going to be successful on the other end because you're going to realize success. You're going to taste success, and it tastes good. And then you're going to want more of it.
Absolutely.
But those people that are allowed to quit at the bottom are the kids that never learned.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think about that, man?
Well, here's what I say to it. Actually, I have personal experience on that with my 15-year-old son who joined the swim team this year for the first time. And there was times when I don't want to go, I'm tired. I said, no. Let me just tell you one thing. There's going to be a lot of things in life that you just don't want to do, but guess what? You got to do them anyway, whether you like it or not. And to the point of Joe Montana, I know Babe Ruth obviously is known for all of his home runs. He had a horrible batting record. He struck out way more times than the average guy, but look at what he's known for.
Yeah, exactly. So you went on to college, Ron, at Oregon State, is that correct?
I did. I was recruited quite a bit on the West Coast, and it came down to University of Tennessee and Oregon State. Tennessee wanted me to play fullback. That was very intriguing.
Wow.
But it was all the way across the country, and Oregon State went 0-11, and I had the chance to start as a freshman. So I'm like, Pac-10 school, University of Oregon and UCLA or USC. Those three schools were really where I wanted to go to, but they didn't offer me. So I went to Oregon State. And believe it or not, ended up starting as a freshman by default.
Wow.
And again, it's one of those learning lessons where I came in one day after not playing the first 3 games of the year, my freshman year, because I was going to redshirt, because I was a middle linebacker. I played linebacker in college. And the coach just said, yeah, well, we lost 3 defensive linemen last game, so you're now our starting nose tackle.
Oh, my.
I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm starting nose tackle. I've never played nose tackle. Yeah, but you're strong and you're big, because I was 6'3", 240 as a freshman in college, and I'm like, well, wait a second. We play at number 5 Oklahoma. Yeah, you'll enjoy that. We'll teach you. So that was my first career start. So I ended up starting the rest of the year, my freshman year, at nose tackle.
Wow.
So you talk about getting thrown into the fire and making mistakes and learning. That's another example of not what I expected, but it's what I had to step up and do. So next man up.
No kid. Did you find by your senior year, I mean, did you get beat up, starting 4 years?
You know what? I always trained good, so I've never had any major injuries. I always had a pinched nerve problem in my neck. I used to get stingers, and which is one of the reasons why I switched to tight end in the NFL. Because hitting 330-pound offensive guard, at middle linebacker was not easy on the neck. So,
right.
Switched to tight end, and but I always trained. I loved working out. I loved the weight room. I loved running. I played a lot of basketball, so I was always in great shape. I never got out of shape, so it really cut down on injuries. I never really had any injuries my whole career.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
So how did you end up then making the draft and getting into the NFL?
Well, my senior year, we had new coaches come in. Our coaching staff that recruited me at Oregon State got fired after my junior year, and had new coaches come in and say, okay, we're going to run a spread offense, but we use a tight end, open tryouts for tight end. I'm like, I'm there. And I started at 3 years at linebacker. So I ended up winning the starting tight end position. And after 5 games, again, one of those things where, we lost several linebackers in one game, so I moved back to outside linebacker, defensive end, and the last 6 games. And so that's where I played. And then the draft was coming up, and I'd left to Oregon State and went and lived with my brother. He was going to the University of Idaho, and went up there and trained because the situation at Oregon State was not good. There was a bunch of guys that I played with that were just partying and doing nothing with their lives, and I saw guys that had graduated 2-3 years ahead of me that were doing nothing. And I'm like, I got to get out of the scene. So I went with my brother, trained. The Cowboys came to the University of Idaho for a pro day up there, and I went and, Dennis Erickson was there at the time, and he said, yeah, come on out and run and stuff. So I did all the stuff with those guys during the Cowboys pro day, and Cowboys said, okay, we want to sign you. And it's the only team that wanted to sign me. So I didn't get drafted. I was a free agent, and so I signed for a whopping $2,500 with the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow, that's kind of crazy, especially now compared to what they give these guys for signing, huh?
Oh yeah, and remember back then there was 12 rounds in the draft. So
right.
That's how far down the depth chart I was. So I got to Dallas, and Mike Sherrard he was their first round pick out of UCLA. His signing bonus was $2.5 million. Mine was $2,500. So, I lasted there 3 weeks and got released. But Paul Hackett was was a coach at the 49ers the year before, and I went through 3 weeks of practice and never missed a down, never missed a practice. In fact, we'd do goal line scrimmage at the end of every practice with Landry for 10 plays, and seemingly all the other tight ends would get hurt or couldn't do that drill at the end of the day. So fine, I went from 8th string to 3rd string every goal line practice, and I have to do wham hits on Randy White and Too Tall Jones. I didn't care. I fought and scrapped and got in fist fights, and my job was on the line. So
yeah.
He gave me a recommendation to the 49ers, and they signed me, and luckily I got up there, and several tight ends were hurt, and I had a chance to make the team, and I did.
What did you think when you got released, like in 3 weeks? I mean, did you think, well, this is it, or were you the kind of person that said, this isn't it? I'm gonna keep fighting.
No, I was gonna keep fighting. I went home and had a couple of cold beers with my buddies back in Idaho, and I was getting ready to go to the weight room the next day because I was only home for one day, and the 49ers called and said, can you be to the plane in 3 hours? And I'm like, sure. The airport's 2 hours away in Spokane, Washington, but I'll make it. So
nice.
Never even unpacked my bag and just left.
Great.
So I was always going to try. I mean, I loved the game. I knew I can compete at that level after playing in the Pac-10, and I didn't have any doubts. I just needed the right opportunity, and that's what making the NFL is. It's being in the right place at the right time, and making less mistakes than everybody else.
Yeah, and we've had people on the show, that it was kind of interesting because they would talk about it's the whole thing. You're a star in high school, and then you go to college, and everybody's good, and then the same thing. You become a star or a starter in college, and you go to the NFL and you think, okay, well, I got something over everybody. But, I mean, isn't everybody good who makes it into the NFL?
Yeah, there's no week off in the NFL.
I mean, even the guys if there's such a thing as a scout team, I mean, they're all good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of talent that's there. And you got the smartest and most technical guys that there is in the world playing that sport. That's like everybody's telling me. He says, "Who did you fear the most? Was it Lawrence Taylor? Was it this guy?" I says, "No, it was going to New Orleans and playing against the Saints. They had 4 Pro Bowl linebackers.
Wow.
I mean, it was a nightmare. And you don't sleep for 2 nights going down there.
Mm-hmm.
At least playing against Lawrence Taylor, you can go on the other side and play against somebody else a few times. Because he played on one side, but." Then you got Wilbur Marshall and Richard Dent, and I mean, you just go down the line. Reggie White. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Every time you look at your schedule, it's like Kevin Green with the Rams. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
Charles Haley. I mean, it doesn't get easier any week. So
it's time we got to take a quick break here. When we get back, what I'd really like to dive into next is your experience in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the creme de la creme. So let's go ahead and go to break. When we get back, let's pick up with that.
Time to get up for work. But before breakfast and a shower, how about a quick workout?
Feel the burn.
Honey, really? You know it's 11 o'clock at night, right?
I'm sorry. And so are my abs.
Not everyone works 9 to 5. That's why we're here.
That's why EFX Sports is here. We give you the power that you need, whether you work out in the gym or at home. Every EFX Sports Supplement is 100% drug-free and will keep you powered all day long. From Carbolin, the all-natural performance carb, to Cre-Alkaline, the most stable creatine on the market, to NF Pro Whey Protein, the most delicious muscle growth formula available. Head in today to Lucky's, Yellowstone, or Granite Fitness, GNC, and Bonanza Health Foods to find your power today. EFX Sports also wants to take a moment to say thank you to the brave men and women who serve our country. Happy birthday, America. EFX Sports, formulated to win.
EFX Sports, specializing in high-end sports nutrition products, is now the official supplement sponsor for the Billings Mustangs, just in time for the season. EFX Sports is the national sports brand of All-American Pharmaceutical, known around the world for Cre-Alkaline and Carbolin, manufactured here in Billings. All of EFX Sports products are certified banned substance-free and geared toward athletes of all levels. Billings Mustangs fans can look for the EFX Sports brand in the Mustangs Pro Shop all season long during home games. Find it in stores, gyms, and everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. EFX Sports.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show. We've got Mr. Ron Heller here, and we're just talking about his sports career. And Brian, you kind of posed the question. I'll let you kind of reintroduce that.
Yeah, what I wanted to touch upon, I mean, we've done a show quite a few episodes ago where we talked about the percentage of people that start out playing, say, in the equivalent of Little League in football, then they move on to high school, then they move on to college, and how slim the percentages get that actually make it, say, into professional sports like the NFL. But then what is the percentage of that group that actually go to a Super Bowl? So we've got someone on the phone who actually experienced that. I just want to know, what was that like? It's got to be a surreal experience to actually walk out on the field knowing I am in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, we played the NFC Championship game at Chicago, and we pretty much blew them out. I mean, the coldest I've ever been in my life was that game. We run out of the tunnel, and it's -1 degrees, and they make sure they put a temperature gauge right behind the goalpost as you run out of your tunnel, so they know how cold it is. So, we won that and just couldn't believe that we made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just like, you're like, sweet, we get 2 weeks to enjoy this Super Bowl experience. And, it was in Miami, and unfortunately the Cincinnati Bengals got stuck in a hotel where the riots were, so they were a little hamstrung. But, the whole experience was just surreal. I mean, we went down on a Sunday before the game, and, even media day, the amount of media that's there from around the world is probably the most mind-blowing thing for me. I mean, there was, I don't know how many different nations and cities around those nations were represented, but there were thousands and thousands. I mean, you had reporters from, all through Asia and Europe and Australia, and you had interpreters asking questions, and the game is so huge worldwide, it's just amazing. And I think that's the thing, and that's even back in '89. I mean, just think of what it is like now with the Internet. Yeah. We didn't have Internet back then. So, I mean, the game is just gigantic worldwide, and it was just such an experience to see how many people were actually tuned into the NFL around the world. And it was, then, of course, you got treated like royalty that week. I mean, every time you walk in the locker room, you had a stack of clothes and shoes and stuff that people are sponsoring and want you to wear. So it was pretty cool.
And then to win it, I mean, getting there is one thing, because some people never make it to the Super Bowl, but then to actually be on a winning team, I mean, did they give you one of those big old rings and all that? Oh, yeah. We got a big old giant ring, and it was pretty cool. I mean, when you come back, Coach Walsh and Eddie DeBartolo got everybody in a room, and we kind of all pitched in and designed the ring, which was fun because you all had a participation in it. And then what's really, really nice is the owners gave every single person that ever collected a check a Super Bowl ring, whether you're the groundskeeper, or whether you're a receptionist, or whether you're the wife of a player, you got a ring. The wives got rings. I mean, that's the generosity and how they treated every person that worked at the 49ers. Every person was special. Every person was intricate. And, to be able to wear that around now and see Eddie going into the Hall of Fame this year, I mean, it's just, he deserves it. I mean, he treated people like gold. And, you don't see that in society today in the working world.
and he appreciated the people that worked for him. And I wear that ring with pride.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the discouraging thing today is back when you played, and you're just a little bit younger than me, but, athletes were role models. Today, there's just this whole lost thing. I don't know if it's just the attitude of the young people, if they're making too much money. But I remember a few years ago, this happened to be NBA, but it's all the same. There was, I won't say the team, but they pulled up to a hotel I was staying at, and I was out there for bodybuilding championship. And these kids knew that the players were getting off the bus, and they were wanting their autographs, and they refused to take 2 minutes to give these kids an autograph. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. What happened to the fans that make the sport?
It's lost. I mean, when we were in training camps, kids would come out there because they'd be mostly open practices. There would be thousands of people watching practice, and they'd be lined up along the fences afterwards, and everybody would spend 15, 20 minutes signing autographs. And every single Saturday before practice, we would line up and we'd pass autographed footballs around, and everybody would sign probably 200, 250 autographed footballs that they'd give away to different charities and for special needs kids and all kinds of different things. And you just don't see that anymore.
No.
You don't see it. You see guys going to autograph shows, and you see guys charging for their autograph and turning kids down. And it's just ridiculous that they make more money now than we could have ever dreamed of, and they give less time to the people that pay their checks.
Yeah, and they really need to they need that extra money for an autograph. We've got a indoor arena football team. It's professional, but the guys only make $200 a month or a week or something. But one of the things I like about it is after the game, the fans come down on the field and they can get the autographs. And these guys are at a level where they still remember who the fans are, and it's so nice to see them spending time and giving autographs. They'll probably never give autographs again because for a lot of them, they're not going to move on. Some of them, get a chance to go into the NFL, but it's nice to see, some athletes still remember that if it wasn't for the fans, they would not have a job.
No, they wouldn't, because, they buy their jerseys, they buy the hot dogs, they buy the game tickets, they buy TV packages, they buy cable TV. It all goes into the player's pocket.
So if you're a young athlete,
you got to give back, and you got to appreciate those very people that are spending their hard-earned dollars paying your salary.
So if you're a young athlete out there, and you make it to, I don't care if you're in the college level or you're a star in high school, let alone make it to a pro. Remember to spend some time with the fans. Remember what it was like when you were young and looking up the disappointment of somebody who you admired and tried to model yourself after wouldn't even give the time of day. That's just ridiculous. That's not what sports are about.
Yeah, you're right. And, unfortunately, growing up in Idaho, the first college game I ever played in, or I ever went to, was one I played in. The first professional football game I ever went to was one I played in. So, we weren't exposed to professional or college sports way up there in northern Idaho.
Yeah, I remember I played high school sports. My school was a little bit bigger than you. We had about 99 in our graduating class, but you played 3 sports. We didn't have a baseball team, so you either wrestled or played basketball. I did football, basketball, track. But I remember going to college as a freshman, and, kids coming up there and wanting my autograph, and I'm like, what? I thought it was so cool, but then I saw the other guys, and, they're like, look, these guys don't know the difference between anybody. They just want to be part of the team. So you always take the time to sign something, give something. Always talk to these people. And that's what I learned at an early age. And even when I didn't make it in the NFL and I got into bodybuilding, that's one thing I always remembered is, I'm selling myself because someday my sports career is going to end and I've got to do something, and I did as you did. You get into business, which is probably what Brian's going to ask you next about. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, so obviously that part of your life, came to an end, or however that happened, and you moved on into the business world. What is it that you do now specifically? And do you see any major correlation between being a pro athlete and now being a professional in the business world?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill Walsh was instrumental in putting together an off-season program of either continuing your education or working and getting a skill for when you retire. And he was really the pioneer in the NFL of doing that. So when I was there, I took some accounting and some business classes at USF in the city. And you only have to get cut one time to realize that you better have a backup plan. So when in '92, I had a buddy at Merrill Lynch. So when we moved back to Santa Barbara in '93, I got a job as an intern, and then decided to retire and went to work full time as a stockbroker at Smith Barney, and lasted about a year and a half, 2 years there. I met my partner there, who I'm in business with now, and I've been in business with since '95. But learned real quick that the corporate world was not for me, because I didn't like being told what I had to sell to my clients and what I needed to do on a daily basis. I wanted to be more entrepreneurial. So we launched our own firm after about a year and a half in the business. And owning your own business and trying to start a business is a lot like trying to play a sport and make it to college or to the NFL at a high school and college, because it takes a ton of work. It takes a ton of tenacity to keep in the grind every single day when nobody's patting you on the back and you're cold calling and people are telling you no and hanging up on you and trying to meet with people and you don't know anything in the world yet, but you're trying to get millionaires and billionaires to manage to let you manage their money. And so you learn on the fly, and you learn from your mistakes, and you learn what to say and how to say it, and it takes time to grow. And the problem with a lot of NFL guys and basketball guys and guys that make money for a living playing a sport is you got to humble yourself. You're not always going to be in the limelight. And so what happens is you got to go work for a living. You have to go get a job. I went to work for Smith Barney for $35,000 a year, and I made $300 the year before at the Seahawks. So and my office was in a copy room in the back. I had a desk in the back, and so that's what you got to do. You to be successful in life, you got to grind it out. You got to take whatever you can get and learn, and just like playing in the NFL. If you lack on slack off on working out and staying in shape and being in the weight room and eating right, then somebody's going to replace you. It's the same thing in the business world. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't work it and you don't get it out to the market, somebody's going to pass you by. Somebody's going to take your idea and go with it, and you're going to be working for somebody else. So that's why I tell my kids, you can either be your own boss or you can work for somebody. So go get a job, go grind it out, go learn, and then be your own boss one day. And but it takes a ton of work. It takes a lot of years, to be successful. And we manage a high yield ETF on the New York Stock Exchange. HYLD is the symbol if anybody wants to buy it in their retirement account. It's a great product. But anyway, you have your ups and downs, and you talk about things that I mentioned to you earlier off the line. Is there's so many things that are out of your control in my world. Because we manage public debt securities. Well, you've got the government changing banking regulations that changes my world. And so we had a line of products that we were doing, and the banking regulations changed through Dodd-Frank, and our business went away. So I had to reestablish our business and come up with a new product. So you're always having to adjust to what's going on in the world, and there's going to be ups and downs, but you can either throw in the towel and quit, or you can figure out how to make it work. And that's really what I've been doing the last 30 years.
Wow. Well, definitely there's a lot of life lessons and just pure gems in all this information you shared, having been literally to the very, very top of your game, switching, careers, and now getting to the top of this game. And I hope people just really take what you said to heart here. And unfortunately, we are out of time because, boy, I'd love to hear you share some more wisdom like that. And I'm kind of reminded of the quote by Mike Tyson where he says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And you had the fortitude to really have that plan B in place that now has paid off in spades. And like you said, use a little wisdom, have some vision and foresight, pay the price, and that's how you become successful. There is no such thing as easy street. That we'd all like to, take that magic pill or just do that one thing that takes us to the top. So, again, man, thank you so much for your time today and sharing what you've shared. Hey, look up Ron and his business here. Maybe he can help you out in the financial world since he's definitely been a success in life at that. Again, thank you so much, and we always want to thank our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Seth Williamson. And until next Sunday, we are going to sign off at this point. Thank you, everybody, for listening on ESPN 910, and we will see you next time.
Live from the EFX Sports Studio, you've been listening to the EFX Sports Show. Find all EFX Sports supplements and products online at efxsports.com. And don't forget to download today's episode for free on iTunes. EFX Sports, formulated to win.